Outgoing Eskom CEO Ruyter says that the power utilities debt and loans amount to more than 396 billion rand. The debt jumped from 35 billion rand in the previous financial year, accounting for an increase of 27% this year. Now, government is expected to take over parts of the debt. For more on this, we're joined by Tshepo Kgadima, energy analyst. Tshepo, great to have you on the show on this Christmas Day.
Thank you. Well, at least the lights are on for today, so we are thankful for that. But tomorrow everything goes back to normal, unfortunately. Which
is a sad development. Well, let's talk about 2023 and what the horizon holds as far as power is concerned.
Well, from the financial results that Eskom released, which were already 9 months late, it tells us that 2023 is going to be an even more difficult time. Taking into account that already now we are living through the worst time in the history of Eskom with the number of days of rolling blackouts. You know, in the previous financial year, 2021, they had 65 days of rolling blackouts. This year, 2022, we have over 140 already. So 2023 is going to get worse. And but that is based on their own admission, I think, as Eskom in terms of what they're saying. Plant that is not available. They don't have at least 20,000 megawatts at any point in time of baseload power. The demand is continuing to decrease. The tariffs are exorbitantly high. Currently, the tariff is around R1.86 a kilowatt hour. The Eskom says that they want a cost-reflective tariff of 32%.
They call it for 32% increase.
Yeah, so they are demanding 32% increase, and I believe that the no longer independent energy regulator, NERSA, will kowtow to that demand, which is extortionist and exorbitant. That will bring down the nominal tariff to R2.46 a kilowatt hour. So you can imagine that is going to unfortunately bring a situation which Eskom has been trying to avoid. Even lesser sales, not only from rolling blackouts because of non-availability of plant, but secondly, we're going to see defaults, particularly in terms of municipalities, skyrocketing. And when you take into account that when this financial year ends in March 2023, the new auditors of Eskom, Deloitte, they are going to have to apply the international financial reporting standards. And when they do apply those standards, they cannot help but have to put an impairment charge, meaning a write-off of at least 35.4 billion rand of the municipal debt that Eskom has got on its books. They also have to take an impairment charge in terms of write-off of at least that 20,000 megawatts in terms of the long-lived assets as they are classified in terms of the international audit standard.
Well, Tshepo, help me make sense of two things. Firstly, NERSA, you say they're no longer independent. I'd like you to certainly justify why you suggest that they aren't. And the second thing is the approval of a 32% hike when the municipalities owe so much, and the courts have said that Eskom is in no position to turn off the municipalities. Doesn't this in many ways encourage or justify the ordinary citizen not paying their dues because the municipalities themselves are not paying what is owed to Eskom?
If the tariffs were low enough, comparatively so, most people would pay. The culture of non-payment would really be would not be as big a problem. But also, Eskom, I don't know why, they continue to rely on intermediaries, middlemen, in terms of the sale of electricity. Eskom must be the one that directly collects whatever electricity that has been used and delivered directly from the customer. There's no need for a municipality. There's no need for all these other intermediaries, whether it's the supermarkets, the banks, and a whole lot of other intermediaries. Because that, unfortunately, is a 14 billion rand a year exercise that the intermediaries are getting. They should not be getting that money. And that is what is adding to the problems we are seeing of Eskom having this higher rate of default. And for them to continue to insist that they must have a cost-reflective tariff, the question is what informs the cost per kilowatt hour? The cost per kilowatt hour should be 42 cents. But we see the cost being much higher because of the insistence that they will continue burning diesel, they'll continue buying independent power producer electricity, which are using diesel also, as well as those that are using wind and solar. If they had done away with all of that, if they had taken, and I keep saying this, there are 5 major decisions that the Eskom management that needs to be hired, who must engage in a turnaround, corporate turnaround of Eskom. If they take those 5 major decisions, Eskom will have an immediate cost saving of at least 80 billion rand a year.
Okay,
and with that, Eskom would not have to increase the tariffs.
Before we talk about that turnaround, let's talk about the role of government. Where is government where all of this is happening? Because ultimately, the buck should stop with the government, because the failure by Eskom to provide electricity is affecting the entire country, right? So surely at some point, government should have stepped in all of this.
Well, government is stepping in. The question is that, are the measures that they are employing to step in, are they appropriate, are they effective? No, they are completely disastrous. They step in by continuing to provide a bailout to Eskom every year. In the year that ended March 2022, we saw a government bailout at 31 billion rand. In this year, the current financial year, I can't see Eskom receiving no less than 70 billion rand in bailout from government. And that's exactly the trajectory we continue to see. But that is because the policies that are set by this government, for example, they talk about just energy transition investment plan, which is only going to increase the cost of electricity provision but reduce the availability of electricity, and at the end of the day, divert the much-needed resources from Treasury. Bear this in mind, in February 2023, when the Minister of Finance will be delivering the budget, will most probably come up with a scheme to bail out Eskom to the tune of 200 billion rand, which is what has been said. But the question is, where is that 200 billion rand going to come from? Because the auditors themselves have now said something that should worry all of us, that Eskom is actually not a going concern. People like myself have been saying this for a while, based on the numbers, that it is no longer a going concern. But so the measures that government is employing to intervene are not appropriate, they are not effective. And that's what we need. We need a government that at the end of the day can only set policy, but ensure that a competent board, as well as competent management, can then go and implement and run the company in a manner where they can be able to take this major decision. There are 5 major decisions, remember, for as long as you have a government that interferes. Let me give you an example. South Africa contributes 0.4% of the greenhouse gas emissions globally. So if anyone can sincerely tell people that, look, we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, even by a factor of 50%, what impact will that have anywhere else in the world? But what impact does it have? The negative impact it has is that it's energy poverty, exorbitant electricity prices, the economy that will continue to be battered and not be able to grow, the inequality. We are going to see more people now not being able to afford electricity, doing exactly what we are seeing happening, not paying for that electricity, where Eskom is telling us that over 20,000 gigawatt hours are lost due to theft and other measures. So when we look at all those policies there, it should worry all of us, or it should worry at least the people that are running Eskom, that in a short order of time, they're going to have to declare bankruptcy because the state itself no longer has the capacity. So the state, remember, we have a government that has to borrow only to service the interest on the debt. Now, if you have a Eskom which pays over 10.2% in interest, a company that was once, they had a credit rating that was stronger than that of the state, of the government, but today they are paying 10.2% in interest rate, and they are wanting to increase the level of debt. They want to increase more borrowings. I think they are looking at over 71 billion rand that they want to go and borrow in the coming financial year. So all of those things is a cocktail of disastrous decisions which are only going to lead to, as I say, much lesser demand for electricity. With over 140 days this year alone of rolling blackouts, that already tells you that Eskom will not even be in a position to have sold the 190 terawatt hours or 190,000 gigawatt hours that they said that they were looking to be able to sell. And with that lesser number, it then immediately, it means bankruptcy, because even the debt that they had looking to take on in the current financial year, they will not be able to service it at all.
So Eskom have come out and said that it is not their responsibility to build power plants. They manage them. That is a role of government. So where is government as far as the establishment of the building of these power plants?
It is an absurdity in the extreme for anyone who runs Eskom, who should understand and appreciate that Eskom is an organ of statute. The Eskom Conversion Act of 2001 makes it obligatory, it's a duty. It's the sole duty of Eskom to generate electricity, transmit electricity, and distribute that electricity. So to now go and say that, well, somebody else has to go and have the role, or rather have the burden of generating electricity, is an absurdity when the law has not been repealed. So if it's Eskom management that is making such assertions, you have to worry. And you have to then be wonder as to why have these people not been summarily dismissed and continue to make such very outrageous decisions that are imperiling, that are damaging this economy, that are impeding the dignity of normal citizens. Eskom's job is they must stick to the knitting. Generate electricity in the least cost manner, in an environmentally friendlier way, reliably, 24/7. And they have got the plant and equipment to do that.
When the plants certainly have outlived their lives?
No, there's no plant that outlived. We are the only people in the world that talk about old plants. Nobody else is speaking about an old plant. The 40,000 or so megawatts that they talk about in terms of base load power, they should return to service the 15,000 megawatts that they've shut down. They're already spending over 14 billion rand in the last financial year in servicing that plant and equipment. Why is it not reliable? So those are the decisions that are within management's capacity. They are the duty of management to have executed the decisions to ensure that they get good value for the 14 billion rand they spend on maintaining the plant. They must make sure that they stop the erosion, really the...
Yeah. Tshepo, I'm afraid we're going to have to call time on the conversation. We've run short of time, but certainly appreciate you coming through on this Christmas Day. Yeah. Tshepo Kgadima, energy analyst, unpacking for us the challenges around Eskom.